Hey everyone, it's Wowous. We're here with a Hearthstone video today, and we're going to be talking about this article from Polygon about who can still afford to keep up with Hearthstone. And while we do that, we're going to play. So let's get a game going, and we're going to talk a little bit about this idea that Hearthstone has become too expensive for the average player, and it's caused actually a huge downswing in terms of player base and in terms of spending on the game. And I think this is absolutely true. And I'll put a link to the article below. And if you're into Hearthstone, you like this type of video, please do subscribe, like, leave me a comment, let me know what your thoughts are about is Hearthstone too expensive? And I think most people would say yes. Now, I'm not a free to play Hearthstone player, but I don't spend an awful lot on the game. What I do is I typically will do a pre-order, and I talked about this in one of my other videos. Obviously the packs that come out in April are more of a value than the ones that come out at the end of the year because you can play in standard this next expansion for 2 full years, whereas the expansions that come out in December or the end of the year you can only use for a short period of time. And so for me, typically I'm going to pre-purchase these early ones, sometimes the middle one, and rarely the last one. Although I did this last December just to kind of keep up with the game. And as you all know, there's 2 different price points for this expansion this year for the pre-purchase. There's the $50 one, which you get 50 card packs. Oops, helps if I had my turn. 50 card packs for about $1 a piece. And then there's the $80, $79.99 US. You get 80 packs, but then you also get, with both of them, you get a card back with the 80 point one, you get an $80 one, you get a priest hero, and you get a random golden legendary. And I'm going to adapt here. And while you may be saying, well, that's a good deal, it really isn't, unfortunately. It's the best deal that you're going to get in terms of packs and whatnot, especially with the golden legendary, but ultimately it's not a particularly great deal overall. And so the problem that Hearthstone has run into is that it's become very, very expensive to stay competitive. Really starting with Knights of the Frozen Throne when they, and I talked about in one of my other videos about some of the legendaries we're going to miss. Almost every legendary in that set was necessary, whether it was the heroes or whether it was the Lich King or some of those. Really starting then, it became a game where you needed to have a lot of legendaries. And you get diminishing returns on the cards that you buy because of the way the rotation works and the way that dusting works in the game. You get you really don't get much value out of cards that rotate out, with the exception of some of the Hall of Fame cards. We're going to tracking here while we're talking. And so the problem that Hearthstone has overall is that it really makes it near impossible for a free-to-play player to stay competitive. Now, you can play certain decks. This sort of hunter deck is kind of the archetype, and people complain, right, that you see hunter, especially when you're up here at level 20, especially right after a refresh at the end of the month when everybody gets reset to level 20 or level 15 or wherever you fall on the ladder. Really, the problem is that there's nothing else that a free-to-play player is going to be successful at. Right now, I think the only things that they can play are probably Hunter and Odd Paladin, and that's if you get the right cards. And then Blizzard made the decision, which I think was correct, to rotate out into the Hall of Fame Gen and Baku, but nearly everybody crafted those cards, right? If you didn't draw them in the packs, you needed to have them because you basically couldn't play without Gen and Baku in the last year. So it's great that you get 2 legendaries for free when those rotate out, and you get some others, as they rotate out the odd and even cards, you're going to get some dust back there. And I have a whole video that I can link to about what the way to maximize your dust is if you're not sure. But it really makes it so that if you're a free-to-play player, you have to have these legendaries or you just can't play. And there's only a handful that are kind of sticking around that are valuable in my opinion. Ziliax is really the one from the last year that's the must-have and is probably getting played in 30% of the decks right now. But other than that, for any other deck, you need whatever that class's legendaries are. There aren't a lot of really good neutral legendaries, and that's become problematic for free-to-play players because you're never going to have enough cards to play all the different classes. Even as a paid player, I only really focus on a handful of classes. I play Mage right now. I play Hunter because it's cheap. I play Paladin because it was dominant for a very long time. I occasionally play Shaman, but I don't ever play Druid. I hardly play Rogue anymore. Priest has become really cost prohibitive, and the same with Warrior. Warrior is, one of the most expensive heroes in the game to just sort of maintain. And so when Blizzard takes this approach of you need to have the best cards, but then also you can never keep up because every 3 months you need to buy more and more and more to stay up, and you don't earn enough gold, which is ultimately the economy problem here. Is you lose dust over time. You don't get enough gold. Now you can earn quite a bit of gold. I have 6,000 something gold, which I've earned throughout the time that I've been playing, since the newest expansion came out. So you can definitely buy 60 packs with that, but 60 packs converts in all reality to about three legendaries, because the legendaries come across at one for every 20 pack or so, and it's random, but essentially one for every 20 packs. Hold on here. We're going to... Do I want to just take him out? I think so. Maybe see what we can do with this adapt. So yeah, it makes it very, very difficult for free-to-play players. And so what ends up happening is most free-to-play players at some point say, well, I have to buy the pre-purchase, I have to buy the expansions, but you're seeing really diminishing values on it. And now they're adding some stuff like this single-player mode that is going to cost for four of the wings. One wing you get for free, and the final four you have to pay 700 gold each for, which is 2,800 gold, which is half of my gold, right? And I'm not a free-to-play player. I don't spend a ton on packs. In terms of this, I'm saving up. But now, instead of buying packs, they want me to buy the single-player mode that, as far as we can tell, isn't going to have a lot in terms of legendaries. When they used to do this with the expansions, where they did every other expansion as an adventure, where you paid essentially the same, it's like 700 gold for the 4 or 5 wings, you at least got a ton of legendaries each wing, you got a ton of rares, a ton of epics, and they were all really valuable cards. I think of Curse of Noxramas, when that first came out, a lot of those cards you had to have, but you felt like you got a lot of value from it. You were spending the gold on it, but you were getting some really great stuff as a result. Hold on here. Gonna take out all of the... Oh, I should have dropped my Scavenging Hyena. Well, we'll do this for now. This is what happens when I don't pay attention while I'm playing, because I'm ranting about the cost of the game. So the single player mode is making it very, very difficult for a free-to-play player to stay in it. And what this, the article talks about this, the game peaked with Knights of the Frozen Throne. It was an awesome expansion. People were willing to spend money on it because it was a lot of fun. People liked those cards. But now we've hit a point where, players are saying, well, why am I spending this money? I'm not playing, I'm not having fun. And it's affecting their bottom line, Blizzard's bottom line. And the article talks about that the 1 year over year, so from last February, February 18 to February 19, sales of the packs and sales in the game have dropped 52%, 52%. That is a huge drop over the last year. And you have to say to yourself, well, why? Why is this happening? And the only answer is because players are just saying, like, I'm not going to spend it on the game. I'm not going to spend that much money to play a game where the cards are going to get rotated out. Now the legendaries that I either spent money on, or they're getting rotated out, and I get to, yes, you get the money back from the Hall of Fame cards like Gen and Baku, but it's like if you spend money on it, you're like, what the heck is going on? Like, I it's frustrating, and I'm not as frustrated as I'm sure many free to play players, because I'm okay spending some money in the game and I enjoy playing the game. But when you see some of these other games that are out there, you start to say, oh, geez, maybe this isn't the best game out there. And that's a tough thing, right, for Blizzard to combat. Is they've sort of become old hat more or less. It's not the cool new game anymore, and they're starting to have really monetization problems, where people are saying, do I need to spend my money on this? And the answer for a lot of people is no. So I do think that Blizzard has made some very poor decisions, and what do they need to do to fix it? One, I would love to see better pre-orders, right? If you're going to spend money on this game, $1 per pack is a terrible deal. For 70, 80 bucks, I should get 100 packs, right? Not a huge discount, but at least something to say, like, well, at least my money seems to be being put to good use. But at $1 a pack, and yeah, the random gold and legendary is great, but if you get some random gold and legendary for a class you don't play, what good is that? So it's frustrating in terms of that. So I think that's one thing they can do, is they look at pre-order prices and make it more valuable for the people that are spending money. They could reduce the gold prices. I think the way to do that, right, is you charge 100 gold for the packs that just came out, but then you lower them. The cards that are in their second year, why are they charging 100 gold per pack for those? Those should be 50 gold per pack, or 80 gold per pack, or whatever, 75. Lower them, right? You're only getting 1 year of use out of them now. That's how a lot of card games worked. I used to play the Star Wars collectible card game back in the day, and eventually when they released expansions, the other expansions typically got cheaper until they kind of got sold out, and then folks were buying the new packs and spending more on the new packs, and the card stores would sell the old packs for less because people were less interested in those expansions. And that's not the case for every card game, but in a card game where people are leaving hand over fist, they have to think about that. And then I think the last thing that they could do is, so we talked about the pre-order bonus, we talked about the gold, I think Dust, right? So, and I know people have talked at length about this in some other videos. The way that Dust works, they're the 1 for 4, where basically you need to disenchant 4 to get 1, is a terrible way to do it. And I think they should look at, if you're going to rotate stuff into wild, maybe you do 2 for 1, or something 3 for 1, somewhere that's a little bit in between that, because again, for a new player, it's got to be frustrating when you lose most of your cards and now you're back to literally square one, and you feel like your only option is to pay. It may be too late, right? The game is effectively in decline, especially showing a 50% year-over-year drop. There's not a whole lot that this, and I was hopeful when Ben Brode left, and I said, geez, maybe maybe that's a sign that they're trying to do something new, to bring players back, because it's a moneymaker for Blizzard, so they need to keep people here. And you would think that they would try to offer some really great pre-order bonuses, and that's what I expected to see going into this year. Is I was expected to see some sort of crazy pre-order bonus, to really get people to drop money that maybe don't. And they've done a few of those in the past, where they've done stuff that was very, very good to people. The sort of the one time, they did the one that was like, here, you get 10 of each pack, and it was like $30 instead of $50 or whatever it was. And they do that every once in a while, where they just release this thing that everybody goes in and buys. I'm thinking the one that you had, the Dragon Legendary, that they guaranteed you from Classic. And that was great for anybody that was working to build up their deck. But we've hit a point now where they just seem to be going kind of old hat. When your game is declining in sales, like the way that this game is declining in sales, they have to do something about it. And I don't proclaim to have all the answers, and I don't understand necessarily all the economics of their decision, but I think that they have to think about this moving forward, and what can they do to get both the free-to-play players to stay in the game, but then also the people that are willing to spend money on the game, staying in the game. And for me, I'm going to stay, definitely a little bit longer. But I've sat here and saying, do I really want to spend the money on the pre-order for the next expansion? The cards have been interesting, but they're not the same as the article mentions. They're not the same as Knights of the Frozen Throne, which I was really excited about, and I think most players were really excited about when they first saw. It's not quite at that level for me. And again, the cards are good, but they're not revolutionary. They're not cards that are going to change the game the way that Froster Mage Jaina did, the way that Blood Reaver Gul'dan did, the way that Deathstalker Rexxar did. So I think that it's really important that Blizzard think about this kind of long and hard as they go into their next couple of expansions, because it's really make or break time for them. Who do I have in my deck that's not a beast? It's bizarre. Oh, I thought it would turn yellow. My bad. I'm losing my mind. But yeah, I think Blizzard has done some good things over the years, but I think you're seeing kind of a year after year fatigue of they're just looking for you to pay more money. And if this was any other, and it obviously it's a mobile game that you can play on mobile, but this is not a strict mobile game. If it was, I think you would see, people saying like, I'm not going to buy the gems or whatever, because people are getting burnt out from it. And again, I just don't think Blizzard's thinking about it that way. They're thinking about like the people that are paying money are going to keep paying money, and their data is showing, and the data that we have access to that is public is showing huge declines, and it's affecting their stock price. It's really affecting them overall, and they got to think and act pretty quickly about this, or this game could be lost. And I've had a lot of fun with Hearthstone, but I don't know that it's the game forever, right? I don't know this game is going to be around 10 years from now, the way that it's going and the way that it's declining. And it can have a resurgence, and we've seen plenty of card games have that resurgence over time, where if they really do some cool stuff and they get the players excited about it, it can happen. But, for me, I don't. This expansion is not it. It's not the revolutionary thing that I was hoping for. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do against this. This is just lovely. Do this. I have nowhere near enough damage. I guess I can do the Scavenging Hyena next turn, but anyway. Yeah, so I think Blizzard is in some trouble with this game, and I'm not super optimistic, but again, I think the three big things that they should be looking at are oh, this is so annoying. Okay. This is super fun. But they should be looking at the dust price. They should be looking at the pre-order bonuses to convince people to jump in and spend a little bit of money, but not again $80 for 80 packs. And they should be looking at the card prices in gold. And again, I'm not expecting anything revolutionary to come out of Blizzard, unfortunately. I think they sort of are stuck in their ways a little bit with this, but it would be great if they did, and obviously we're going to lose this game, but it was a fun couple of matches, so hopefully you enjoyed listening and you've enjoyed the conversation. But I'm interested to hear what you think. What should Blizzard do to keep this game affordable? Are they going to keep it affordable? What are your thoughts around this? And if you enjoy this type of content, please do like and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much.